right here. Thank you, Nancy. My wife, Nancy Caraway. Oh, Brian, I'm serious. Thanks very, very much. This is the first opportunity we've had to kind of put things together before we start the so-called fiscal year, the opportunity to follow up on some of the initiatives that we've gotten started with, and key to all of that in terms of teamwork, and that's why we have the members of the cabinet here and the members of the Board of Education. Obviously, the board is not from the cabinet, but we've been emphasizing key. And in doing that, one of the things that we wanted to get through right from the very beginning was that the Lieutenant Governor was not just going to be a symbolic presence in the administration and in your administration. And I just wanted Brian to take a minute or so to summarize just what he's been doing recently. He's got responsibility for chasing all the federal dollars that are out there, working with the delegation, with you, with private enterprise and nonprofit groups, with individuals, working the grants, working the foundations, working the federal side, and putting the APAC presentation together. We just met with the Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs today from China. Was really looking forward to coming, very impressed with what's been happening. That's because Brian Schatz has been doing the job.
We've been working on a number of initiatives. I thought you were going to get down over. We are working very hard to prepare Hawaii and Honolulu in particular for the APEC meeting. I've also been assigned responsibility for chasing external dollars from the state of Hawaii to state not-for-profits, state for-profits, and of course state agencies. We've had some great success working with our cabinet, especially our State Department of Defense. It looks like we're very likely to be bringing in almost $100 million in for our National Guard facilities, for our veteran cemeteries, and so we're making good progress. The other thing that I'll point out is this is the first time in a long time, and this is not to cast aspersions, but this is the first time in a long time that we've had the level of cooperation between the congressional delegation and the state administration that we really need to try to solve some of our problems, especially our more difficult ones that are going to require federal participation. So we're all working as a team, and I appreciate the governor's confidence in me. Thank you very much.
We want to get to questions. You don't necessarily have to have questions as such. You may have observations you want to make that you'd like us to comment on. I say us. Please take advantage of the fact that we have so many folks here from the cabinet and elsewhere. Like Judge Tom was introduced, for example. He's not here in his capacity as judge. He's retired from that, but he's the newest member of the the patrolling authority. You may be doing patrolling too. Coming out with the budget we have, we have to double up on jobs. That's and of course Mark Alexander with coordinating homelessness. I wanted to say in that context as well, very, very shortly, within about less than 2 weeks, the new Chief Information Officer will be here that's going to coordinate all of the high technology innovation that we're going to need in order to communicate with each other to be able to do this. We want to broadcast across the state. We don't want to be Oahu-centric. We want to have everybody in the neighbor islands be able to do the same thing we're doing here tonight, and without necessarily having to travel to the neighbor islands, or be able even to get this kind of meeting going statewide, so that we can have participation. And it doesn't necessarily all have to be on general topics. We're thinking about trying to zero in on specific topics so that we can concentrate answers and perspective and observations on more specific issues than we might be able to handle tonight. Just a couple of other points, and then we'll get underway. Obviously, we still face enormous constraints, not just fiscally, but in some respects with our sense of confidence. And one of the things that we want to do, not me, but we want to do, is to re-emphasize to everybody that we are, in fact, all in this all together. I've had the opportunity, for example, to meet with literally hundreds, I guess it's getting into the thousands now, of state employees, going from department to department, building to building, area to area, where they are, to let them know that we are working together. We're going to have to reconfigure and reconstitute government, getting our core services out there, dealing with the budget that we have and the circumstances that we find ourselves in. We can do it, as I emphasized to the Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs of China today that I mentioned. We do it because in Hawaii, in paradise, our diversity defines us and does not divide us. It gives us the opportunity to work with one another in a loving way, in a tonal way, doing things the right way with and for each other, and to remind ourselves of that in the spirit of aloha. And it doesn't always come across that way. Every one of us has failings. If you want to deal with shortcomings and failure to live up to even your own expectations, you can start alphabetic. Believe me, I can say that. But it's not for lack of determination to do more and do better and to work to see to it that our unity and our diversity does in fact give us the opportunity to look forward to a successful future. Last thing I want to say before we move on then to your questions and observations is that everywhere I go, literally everywhere I go, the question that is on most people's mind, I'm looking around the room tonight, and we were delighted to have the hospitality here of the school. This school has been a central part of my life, my whole political life for more than 40 years now. Those young people were here, and they're looking at their future. The slam poets that were here tonight, fabulous beginning to the evening. So I look around the room, and with those young people in mind, there's not a lot of rookies in this room. I think you're asking yourselves the same question that's been asked me over and over again. Is there a future for our children? Is there a future for those two young guys that came up and had their picture taken with me tonight and aren't quite sure why? But are hoping that it means as much as they were told that it would. Are we going to be exporting our children and continue to import our energy, import our food, import our dollars, export our dollars even in greater numbers? That's the kind of thing that's been asked. That's the kind of question we have to answer. And I assure you my commitment to that is full. So with that, Donalyn, are we ready to get started? Oh, she said only take the mic if I get down, but I'm not sure I can and get No, I think I've got to. The cameras block everybody. Am I right? Yeah. Go up on the stage. Should I go on the stage? Yeah.
While the governor is making his way there, I would like to thank everyone again for coming out. Thank you for taking the time to write your questions. Just off the top, there were several people who had concerns over two measures, and they were House Bill 667 relating to food safety, and also Senate Bill 1274, which relates to an external review program on health insurance. So I just would like to let you know that very shortly, probably tomorrow or the day after that, the governor will be sending messages regarding measures, and you can look out for that. But they are still under review, but we have taken your concerns, and that helps in that process. So thank you very much. But moving on to some of the first questions. Governor, the most popular question of the evening. We've had 11 questions about adult education. What's your position?
Well, obviously, the question is about adult education. The reason that it comes up, I presume, I want to I got to take 1 minute just before I answer that to say it's such a pleasure to see such old friends here. Really, thank you very much. I mentioned before 40 years. It just occurred to me when I said there's not a whole lot of rookies here. There's a whole lot of people who have been committed to this state, committed to Hawaii, committed to their communities, and they're here tonight. And I can't name them all, but there's one that's here tonight, and I just want him to stand up. It was with me from the very beginning of everything that we accomplished in the Congress and all the way through Pat McCain. I just want to stand up, be acknowledged. that's probably a good segue, but going back to the question of adult education. The reason it's coming up, and there'll be other programs, the van pool. Here we talk about where we're trying to get away from individuals and cars, and you got the van pool, and that becomes a difficulty. Or the Medicaid co-pays for really almost destitute seniors. They have those with very, very low incomes eligible for Medicaid, and the inability now, if we're going to sustain what Medicaid dollars we do have, to be able to continue the co-pays. It's just $6. And everybody is perfectly entitled to say, you mean we can't find $6 to co-pay the Medicaid payment for those seniors eligible for Medicaid and very low income? That's the kind of level. Those are the kind of circumstances that we have to come to grips with in the midst of the failure to properly fund the Medicare and Medicaid system from the national level on down. The cost of health care has risen because we are living longer and greater numbers of people are living longer, and as a result, the expenditures associated with that have risen. And the capacity of the present kind of insurance system that we have, despite its progressiveness when it was instituted in the mid-1970s, is no longer capable of keeping up with events. The same with adult education. The plain fact is that there will be adult education. The program will continue for the next year. What we're looking at, please don't think that adult education is going to disappear. On the contrary, the Board of Education, and we have a member here, one of our new appointees here tonight who will affirm, is that what we're looking at is programs we may have to restructure. Adult education is not the only one. I mentioned healthcare in conjunction with it because we're going to have to restructure and reconfigure healthcare in this state and in this country. We can no longer allow insurance companies alone and big corporations to decide how we're going to deliver health care and what it's going to cost. We have to come to grips with that. So, adult education, the offering of adult education is something that we treasure and we want to keep going. But we think that given if the fiscal constraints continue, that we're going to perhaps have to reconfigure and retool how we deliver it. So what this is not the elimination of the program tonight, or this week, or during this first fiscal year, but rather an opportunity for us to determine how we can deliver it in such a way as it will make it possible to keep it going, in conjunction with the other core responsibilities that we have. The first thing that we have to do in education is make sure a child can think critically. That has to be the focus. When you have choices to make, and that's what we face every day, that's the criterion, the principal element that I have to keep in mind and that the Board of Education has to keep in mind, and the superintendent. The education of the child has to come first when the choices have to be made. So we're merely identifying programs that we want to think about in terms of possible restructure, and we want to make that process as open as possible. And any suggestions you have, those who are committed to adult education, any suggestions you have as to how we can structure the offering of adult education in a way that will enable us to keep on going, so that we can take it up as a Board of Education, the superintendent, the legislature, and myself, I'm certainly wide open to it.
Thank you. All right, I just want to